Okay, there's Ev.
Hey, my name is Evelyn Yaussy, and I am one part of Heartspark Press. We are about to begin a very exciting live stream reading and Q&A session with Talia Johnson and Bridget Liang, who are two guest readers today. They're also two of our writers from the Resilience Project, which is our upcoming, very exciting anthology project containing more writing by AMAB authors and trans women, and containing more trans feminine AMAB artists than any other anthology before, which is really amazing and exciting. Our first reader today is going to be Bridget Liang. Bridget, if you would like to, I don't know, get started in whatever way you feel good about.
Okay, so just as a heads up, I'm reading from my phone, just off screen, because this is slightly easier. My piece is entitled "Night of the Dead Lesbians," and this is a piece written in the first person by white cishet man who is the producer of a TV show. Yeah, so that's all you really need to know is context for what you're about to hear. All right. It's been a long month of directing season 5 of Vampire Youth, but we're finally done. I'm rubbing my temples to get rid of this damn headache that's been growing steadily all day. The crew is packing away and securing equipment. I can't wait to get out of here. Roxy's talking about her schedule, something about filming on another show, and I hum and haw non-committally. Her voice is a reason why I have this damn headache in the first place. Because she's the damn love interest of my leading man. She's in every damn episode. If it wasn't for SAG-AFTRA's affirmative action policy, I wouldn't have hired her at all. Asians only make up 1% of the population. They're not represented they're represented just fine as is. Why the fuck are they complaining? Because Jeff Mavis, being Jeff Mavis, the director of horror teen dramas, is so hard sometimes. Roxy's acting, I grudgingly admit, is spectacular, but she just doesn't look the part of a love interest. Roxy follows me back to my office, and thank fuck Danny and Kevin are waiting there to hang out with me. I wave them over enthusiastically in hopes that I can use them to shake her off. I ask them about how they're going to spend their time off. Thank fuck, Danny launches into an answer with a long-winded story about going on vacation with his newest girlfriend. Every time Roxy tries to interrupt, either Danny or Kevin, oblivious. Wait, I just got distracted by some stuff on the screen. Oblivious to the situation, exclaim excitedly about some inane thing like the codependent duo that they are. I smirk to myself as Roxy storms out of the studio. Typical diva. I turn my attention back to Kevin and ask if I can help him plot out his schedule for the next season. Between directing a new show, his first movie, and convention appearances, I want to make sure I have my stars set up for the year. Both Kevin and Danny are such talented young men, albeit a little naive. They're going somewhere great one day. I hear the security radio about a commotion going on in the front door and don't pay any attention. Security will take care of it. Kevin and Danny are now doing their best friend's touchy-feely thing, so I reach for a bottle of scotch and settle down in my black leather sofa chair. I try to make my office comfortable and, most importantly, masculine. After all, I spend most of my time here. The wife is a nag. If it wasn't for the prenup and the kids, I would be gone. Luckily, she doesn't know about how my personal assistant assists me. Suddenly and in unison, Kevin, Danny, and I jumped to our seats, startled by the tinny scream coming from the radio. Kevin's eyebrows knit and frowned, giving his co-star comforting, manly face pats. A second scream emits from the radio. It sounds like security saying something about zombies. Zombies. Zombies were last season when a horde of zombies tried to take over Nosferatu Collegiate School. That was fun to film. The special effects department had a field day, coming up with especially gruesome extras. I turn over to my star actors and ask them what they think is going on. Danny thinks we should leave the building now. Could be crazy fans that got past security, he says. After all, we got the highest rating we've ever had on the show last season. Grabbing my Italian leather wallet and keys, I shepherd the guys out, locking the door to my office carefully. It's important that my man cave is protected. We stroll towards the back door amidst the crew packing up. Then there's shouting and creaking coming from the studio doors. This has everyone's attention. Even Roxy has stopped her nail filing or whatever use Steva thinks she does and is staring at them. The door rattles and shakes and the radio is surprisingly silent. Danny and Kevin tug on my expensive Armani shirt wrinkles and suggest we try to pick up the pace. Jess, we need to move faster. I agree with them immediately. We hastily creep towards the back door before everyone else gets a clue. The lighting guy, Fred, has the same idea. We left not a moment too soon. The studio door bursts open and a pack of screaming women rush in. You gotta give them props to these fangirls for their skills in organizing, costuming, and makeup, all for their love of vampire youth. And then one of them bites the makeup artist, whose name I can't be bothered to remember, and she screams and quickly turns into a groan. Fuck! Rabid fans! Wait, that's a good idea for next season. I imagine a group of women from the local madhouse that have broken out and have insinuated themselves into the school. They'd be wearing sexy, torn nurse outfits, and they'd enthrall Danny and Kevin's characters with their wily charms as they try to take over Nosferatu Collegiate. Us four guys dash out the back door and into the hall leading to the dressing rooms. Why the fuck are we so far away from the fire exits again? No good fucking contractors and their damn accessibility standards. It makes no sense at all, and the entire crew has become a stampede coming from behind us. The fanatical fangirls are also not far away either. Fuck! Fuck! They're picking up. I dare not look back as their cries and moans echo through the narrow hallways. Somehow, Fred ends up at the back of the pack. I hear him scream, and as he's girls. I'm gasping for breath. Damn, I really need to work out. And Kevin and Danny are practically carrying me. The crew followed by the horde of fangirls are catching up. And yes, freedom! We burst through the emergency doors like a trio of whales, breaching the surface of the water to breathe. And I take in a deep breath of fresh Californian smog. The parking lot is across the outdoor sets. Fuck, and I don't think I'll make it at this rate. I wheeze out my realization to Danny and Kevin, who protest that we'll get out of this together, so they half carry me, half stumble with me across the high school track field like it's Saving Private Ryan. We don't get very far. I end up collapsing onto my hands and knees on the third base of the baseball diamond at the far end of the field. Kevin stumbles and starfishes on home base, followed by Danny tripping over Kevin. He lands right on top of his co-star's belly. I'm trying to get my breath back while breathing in dirt. By the time I've got enough oxygen in my blood to function, I see the crew scattered all over the field. I see the horde bursting through the doors like that scene from Dawn of the Dead. I would still remember to refer to the wife's ex-kids as this the next time we host Christmas dinner. Fuck, there's really something fucking crazy going on with these girls. One looks like Lena Hero Princess, decked out in leather with a very authentic-looking boomerang belted to her waist. Lena snatches the second cameraman like he is a kid and bites him like he is Varub. Another fangirl who looks like Kara, the Wiccan priestess from that show with the tiny brunette werewolf slayer. The stunt coordinator escapes from clutches and he pounces on Kevin's stunt double, locking lips with him. Are they really fucking making out with each other? What the fuck? I didn't know they were gay. I mean, it's cool, gay power and all that, but why the fuck are they making out right now? Fangirl that looks like Poisson from that lesbian penitentiary show is shambling away from two extras who are fucking? Why the fuck are there suddenly so many fags in my crew? One, this fangirl spots us, and that's good enough motivation for me to run again. I pulled Danny and Kevin to their feet and were speeding towards the parking lot again. The momentary rest we had really wasn't enough. Hey, I'm a busy man producing a number of highly rated shows. I don't have the time to get back the abs I had in college. We passed by a lot of the crew fucking or doing tantric yoga poses or something. I don't care. I don't understand. I don't want to know. I don't want to look. But I do notice the hairstylist and set designer scissoring and fucking. I wish I could watch those two go at it. Lawn gives away to pavement. Yes, we finally reached the parking lot. Kevin and Danny separate from me to look for their cars. I automatically go for my Camaro, but it's not there. Oh, fuck. I forgot that I took the wife's minivan today. I fumble around for the right key, and just when I find them, I drop them. Bright, hot pain blooms from my right shoulder. I may be into biting, but usually I'm the one doing the biting. I yell, well, mainly screaming, and turn around. It's a girl who played Emily, a disposable lesbian, a minor character who was on season 3 of Vampire Youth. On the show, she was out on a date with her girlfriend, Katie, and Danny, who was also flirting with them when the leader of the witch coven, the big bad of the season, abducted Emily to be a virgin sacrifice for a love potion to get Danny to marry her. And this fangirl, no, she's a fucking zombie, a real fucking zombie! She's cackling over me, gloating about something, and says all this stuff about revenge I don't care about because all I can look at is Danny and Kevin. They're huddled together, screaming by Danny's car as a couple of zombies pass by them for some reason. I am entranced by the pale length and brown moles of Danny's neck that I want to my mouth all over right now. Fuck. What? What's happening to me? Why am I suddenly thinking gay thoughts? Emily screeches something to the other lesbian zombies. I hear phrases like lesbian book club, healing circle, vegan gluten-free food, and in the U-Haul. I distinctly heard her say that their job was done here. The lesbian zombies are all hollering, hooting, and cheering as they run off studio property and into the sunset. After the last of them leaves, soft moans break the silence behind me. I turn around and am blown away by what's now in front of me. Danny's lips are wrapped around Kevin's cock, and fuck, I want that. I want that to be me, or have it done to me. I don't care. All thoughts of my assistant or any woman are gone as my eyes are glued to Danny's pink, hollowed lips around that fat cock. He's also lifting up Kevin's shirt. Damn, I wish I was smacking my lips. I never appreciated Kevin's abs until now. Kevin turned to me. I never noticed how warm and sensual his brown eyes were until right now. Jess Mavis, he yelled at me. Get over here and fuck one of us. I stumble over to him and comply. Neither of them have been bitten. Were they secretly gay lovers this whole time? Kevin pulls down the zipper to my slacks. I'm getting so hard. Then I black out. I wake up sandwiched between two warm bodies. I smell sex, sweat, cum, and ass, and I've never been so content. Danny mewls in his sleep in front of me, and Kevin casually caresses my belly. My ass is sore, but it's a good kind of sore. Maybe those lesbian zombies were a blessing in disguise. Ha! So much for their revenge. I chuckle to myself and think about inviting those two over to my office for more often for bonding time and character development. Personal assistant, I could care less about her. The wife never needs to know about this either. Sir, Jess, there's another zombie coming this way, the audio engineer screams out of nowhere. The man is covered in love bites, which I wish I had given him. The zombies are all right. Their bites make you gay. I'm cool. Maybe you'd like to join us, I implore and lick my lips suggestively. But sir, she's covered in blood. I swear and look up from my pile of warmth. On a warpath heading for us is this tranny minor vampire villain from season 1, whose name I recall. It is Styles. I remember the shot where she was brutally killed. The cinematography won me an award for the best shot in a new TV show, and Styles was covered in blood, just like she is now. She reaches us surprisingly quickly and lifts me up by the hair. Ow! Her face is contorted with rage, and that's definitely real blood on her lips. Blood oozes onto my neck as she gets closer to my ear. The last thing I hear is her growling and the final 4 words, Jess Mavis is not a gift. Okay, so that's my thing.
That was excellent. Let's move on to our next reader, Talia Johnson. If you want to take it away, if you want to introduce yourself first, do whatever feels good to you.
Okay. How to introduce my work. I've been writing for a number of years. I first started writing more serious poetry around 2009, 2010. And most of my other writing was academic when I was in university, which can be rather deadly. And except for a few papers, it was mostly what profs assigned and not so much fun. So I'll start with one of my poems that isn't in the anthology that I wrote back in 2012. And this one is called Be a Man. What does it mean to be told to be a man? We are told that to be a man is to be strong, to be unemotional, be an athlete, good at sports. But what if you're not? What happens to the little boy told he's going to be a man, told to be tough, told to suck it up? What happens when he knows deep inside he isn't? And the poem that is included in the anthology is called Holy Love, and it comes out of training I was doing over the summer. And one of the topics was the lover as an archetype of a priestess. So here it is. Who are we when we are told our holy love is pathologized? When we are very identity is wrong, that we are sexual predators, that we are pedophiles, that we are gay men, that it is only autogynephilia, that it is based on a fetish, on a desire to fetishize our own genitalia, that we are intrinsically disordered, that it is something to be cured, done away with. Who are we when our holy love is reduced to our genitals? When we are told that they only exist to attract straight men? When TERFs and conservatives tell us that the genitals we are born with define us? That we have always been, that we are still men, always be men, that we mutilate ourselves, that we deceive ourselves into thinking we are women, that we must accept what God gave us when we were born. Who are we when our holy love is a source of pain? When our sexual organs are not those that our identity and soul require? When our genitals are seen as that of men? When we can barely touch our genitals? When we can barely look at ourselves in the mirror?
When our voice is a deep bass?
When having to shave our face causes pain? When we cannot bear others touching our body? When our bodies will never be feminine enough? Who are we when our holy love is content with our body? When our factory standard genitals are not a source of discomfort? When they can be touched as part of love? When we do not want to change them? When they are a source of pleasure? when we are more than our genitals, when we love our voice and
Embrace its depths.
when our bodies are feminine enough, when our whole body is a source of pleasure. Who are we when we are told, who are we when our holy love is told it cannot embrace the divine? When we are told we are abominations in the sight of God? When we are told we must be men? When we are told that we must pray away the trans? When we are told we are not welcome in synagogue? When we are told we are not welcome in mosques? When we are told we are not welcome in churches? When we are told we cannot be leaders in our tradition? When we are told our transitions cannot be celebrated? Who are we when we embrace holy love in the body? We are full human beings, able to be in the world. We are more than our genitals, and they do not define us. We are defiant of those who would demonize us for the genitals at birth. We are at peace with our bodies and their configuration. We are able to engage in physical manifestations of love. We are sexy, we are sensual, we make love with our bodies. We celebrate our bodies and their wonderful diversity. We are able to look in the mirror and hear our own voices. Who are we when we embrace holy love in our spirit? We are connected with who we are, embracing ourselves. We are reflections of the divine that is part of each person. We celebrate our transitions in our spiritual communities. We are in relationships that nourish us, those around us. We are at peace with our identities, able to be who we are. We are nourished by the holy love we have for ourselves. We are healers of the world, bringing healing to others. We are lovers in every sense of the word.
Yay, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Talia. And thank you also so much, Bridget. So this is also a Q&A, which means that if anybody in the chat would like to ask a question of either of our writers, that would be amazing. I have a couple of questions if nobody else in the chat would like to go first. And then I encourage the two of you, if you have any questions for each other, to think about that and ask away if you feel so inclined. So I don't see anything in the chat on the side here. So I'll go ahead and start off with, well, I guess just sort of a general sort of writing question, I guess. What inspires you to write what you write? And I'll direct this question first at Bridget, just arbitrarily, and we'll move on to Talia.
So what inspires me to write what I write? Usually frustration. I'm a lazy writer. So I generally only write when I am almost literally tied to the table and to the desk and forced to write. Oh, any sound effects you hear in the background are probably children and or construction going on outside my apartment building.
Awesome.
Yeah. And let's see. And usually it's just when I do actually write, it's usually for a purpose. Like this particular piece came out due to like, it actually started with, what was it called? The lesbian blogging internet thing that people like follow periodically.
Um,
I'm trying to involved.
Despite being a millennial, I actually don't know anything about the internet.
I'm trying to remember what I said. But anyways, it's this website that does blogging. And there's this post that was made about all the lesbians that are dead in television. And it was like, so that's what more or less started this conversation. It was like the 100+ lesbians who died in television, like the characters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so over the course of many, many years, a lot of lesbians get killed on television. So it's like we don't have very many representations of queer women specifically, and trans women even more specifically, that are like alive. So yeah, that's more or less my answer. I'm inspired by things, and then I am eventually forced to write.
Awesome. Yeah, those sorts of, like, I don't know, providing our own sort of structure and constraint can be really good for getting things out.
I encourage other people to write, and I'm always willing to edit other people if I like what they're doing. So when it comes to fan fiction, I will support any people who are writing trans women in fan fiction.
Hell yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, I'll go ahead and shoot the question over to Talia. If you have a response for that too, what sort of things inspire you to write what you write?
What inspires me, that changes from day to day and where my brain is at. A lot of my blogging comes from current issues of the day and problems I see happening in trans communities and the wider world. My poetry is often more based on personal experiences and or experiences of others. And sometimes I like to have fun with the way something is framed. A piece that I'm just starting to put down in writing, I'm calling "You Shall Not Pass." And that's going to talk about all the various ways that we're not allowed to pass, or that we don't pass, or the requirement to pass. So that's the poetry. For short stories, I'm still figuring out how that's working. Longer pieces, I have a couple of ideas for novel length stuff, but I have to get past overthinking them. And then I start overthinking my overthinking.
Totally. Yeah, and then you're all the way down at the bottom of that rabbit hole.
Yeah, and one of the things I do to help writers is I do sensitivity editing. So people can send me the work in process, and ideally after it's gone through at least some of their own editing, and then reading it for sensitivity for trans and queer characters and a little bit of disability, and providing feedback to help authors who aren't own voices get a more solid understanding.
That's super cool and extremely important sort of stuff to be doing. Why is this project, the Resilience Project, and being a part of that, why is that important to you? I will go ahead and double back to Bridget again and start with her.
Okay, the Resilience Project is important to me because there's really not enough trans feminine work out there writing. I really like hanging around fan fiction and fanfic communities, which this is a response to, and my writing is in response to in some ways. We see trans men writing, and some of them are really, really talented and awesome writers, and I squee over intensely. But we don't really see so much in the way of trans feminine writers.
Totally.
We also see more trans guys represented in fan fiction. The most we see for like trans feminine representation is feminization kink, and it's like, that's not me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like it's like it's a weird phenomenon that happens. One Direction, where people will gender swap from male to like cis male to cis female for characters, or like do a feminization kink, but they don't actually do like a trans feminine character.
Right.
But they're more likely to do a trans masculine character. So it's like, what the fuck? What the fuck, One Direction fandom? I want my trans ladies in. Oh, that reminds me, as a plug for anyone listening, I accept gifts of trans feminine Zayn fan fiction. Specifically when paired up with Liam of One Direction as well, because OTP feels. Anyways.
Awesome. Cool. Talia, do you have any input on that too? Why is it important? Why does it feel important for you to be a part of a project like this project?
Well, one, as Bridget said, there's not enough of the voices of trans women out there in writing, in media, in stories. And often we end up trapped in the wrong tropes. The mainstream media likes certain types of stories about trans women. And for some weird reason, often trans men are ignored because they're not deemed sexy or interesting. But when it comes to the writing side and who gets attention, it goes the other way. So it's so important to get all of our voices showing our wonderful diversity, because we're more than the trapped in the wrong body. We're more than the sob story. We're more than the tragic death. And having our own voices telling these various stories are extremely important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wonderful. Thank you. Cool. Well, I have another question here. It's a question that we are asking everyone involved in the project, I think, over time. I know we've already asked Bridget this question because Bridget appears in our wonderful Kickstarter video. And I don't remember if, Talia, if you are also appearing in our video or not.
I don't think so.
I didn't think so either. Okay, but I just wanted to make sure before I said anything definitive. But yeah, but since we've already heard about this from Bridget, and I'll ask you too in a moment, but I'll start with you, Talia. What does the word resilience mean to you?
Oh, that's an interesting one. To me, it's multiple factors. And it goes beyond just being told we're just for transitioning. I think resilience for me is the ability to actually still be alive. We know that we have such a high suicide rate amongst trans people. We know how often we're attacked, and Canada's not immune from that. There was a murder last week in Montreal. So resilience is keeping on going for what we know we need to do with ourselves. And you know, how many trans people does it take to change a light bulb? You know,
Sure.
You're doing it wrong. Constantly told you're doing it wrong. And resilience to me is in part being able to get beyond that and recognizing that in ourselves.
Hell yeah.
It's more internal than external.
I love that. I love that response. Cool. Awesome. I'll move on to Bridget. And I know how you feel about the word resilience, but maybe if you want to talk a little about that, expand upon that.
So resilience is it's a buzzword thrown around a lot by like social workers, where they're like wanting to instill resilience in people, and it makes me feel kind of jaded sometimes to see the word all the time.
Totally.
Oh yeah.
Because what they like this goal that these social workers have for us to give us resilience, empower us with resilience. And it's like the charity industrial complex all over again, where they're trying to like quote unquote empower us by giving us things, but it's like not actually. It just kind of really fucked up in a lot of ways.
I'd like to shove that resilience they're promoting somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like.
I like to say, shove it in this. I want to feed them to the Starlight. I want to pet Starlight. So pet Starlight.
I want to feed the word bravery to the Sarlacc.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Personally. Yeah.
You're so brave.
That phrase is why I don't go downtown in Portland anymore. It's too many alphabet districts, like upper middle class moms want to just pull me aside and say something about it. Anyway. Yeah.
Kick them in the Starlight pit.
For real. Let's banish that. Banish it or reclaim it or something. Anyway.
It looks like we have a question in the Q&A.
Do we? Oh, phenomenal. Well, I'm not seeing it.
I'm gonna show.
You have to click on the Q&A on the chat side of things.
Oh, yay. Oh, cool. I don't know how any of this works. Cool. So we have a question from Kate Gordon. Cat Gordon. This Kickstarter was so successful. Yeah, it kind of has been. Do you think that it was because there is such need for own voices anthologies like this? And could this be a yearly thing? So let's pick apart this question for a second. So do you all feel like, I don't know, and I want to get your input on this too. I think it's definitely because, to some extent, because there aren't a lot of anthologies like this. I mean, we're the biggest one that's happened so far in terms of artists and in terms of just collected work. But there, you know, beyond that, there just aren't a lot more anthologies like this out there. And I think, you know, it goes without saying that trans feminine voices, AMAB trans voices, are not as well represented, especially in the world of writing, poetry, literature, those sorts of things. And so, yeah, I certainly feel personally like there's a significant need for something like this, for some things like this, for a diversity of things like this. And yeah, people want that. I don't know if either of you have input on that.
I was going to respond to the second part of the question about it being a year. I just, as someone who's been an editor for things, getting something done yearly would be really ambitious. Get a book like this done once a year would be really, really ambitious, because of the amount of work that you have to put into doing it is astronomical. Like, I could see it being done like maybe every 5 years, maybe, but editing can be a full-time job. So unless you're willing to, like, when I was when I was having my submission being when I accepted into the Meanwhile Elsewhere book, which I conveniently brought with me, that process was like literally 2 years. And these are with people who actually have like more access to resources than we do. It was still like 2 years between when I first got the acceptance letter and when I did a live reading and the book launch, which was early, a couple weeks ago.
Totally.
So it's very ambitious to get one done in a year.
Totally. I mean, I can definitely expand on that last part of that question. It won't, I don't think, be a yearly thing, but just based on sort of where our priorities are as a publishing and media collective, I think it is HeartSpark's goal to produce a volume 2 sometime in the next 12 plus months. I'm not making any sort of promises, and this is stuff that's just sort of being discussed at this time, but just because of the fact that we don't have, you know, like topside and a lot of sort of various projects going on all at the same, well, we do have a lot of various projects going on all at the same time, but we have, at least for right now, only a book or 2 at a time, basically, to focus on, which is really exciting and cool, because then we can devote a lot of work and time to those projects. Soon we'll be branching out into some media that doesn't have anything to do with print. Well, I mean, it might have some amount to do with print media, but it's going to be more on the sort of audiovisual side of things. So yeah, but we're not going to do maybe an annual release of something like this as sort of a dedicated thing. But I will say we have a really exciting project in the pipeline that Shug and I and some other people are working on developing, called Hate Mail, which we're trying to turn into a sort of, I think the goal right now is biannual or maybe an annual literary journal that we would be constantly taking submissions for and release like once or twice a year. And maybe that's something that can sort of fill that need and fill that sort of gap for people who want to see more sort of anthological writing, I don't know, collections of writing by trans women and AMAB non-binary people and trans people in general. Yeah, I don't know if Talia, if you want to touch on anything that was brought up in the question or not. Don't feel like you have to.
Yeah, I think that the own voice anthologies are something that people really tend to like, especially given problematic representations of people in print and other media. You know, having
Absolutely.
seen somebody who said, oh, I can write this, but has nothing to do with it, and then doesn't see anything wrong with how they're problematically depicting people.
Absolutely.
And then getting all butthurt because they weren't accepted for own voice awards.
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally. Okay, cool. Well, I'm glad we got a Q&A ask. That's really cool. Awesome. Unless either of you have questions for each other, I think we should wrap up. Are there any questions that you have for each other before we end?
Not at the moment. I'll probably think of something in about half an hour.
Sure. Okay, cool. Well, thank you both. Thank you, Talia, for some phenomenal poetry. And thank you, Bridget, for talking more about gay vampires and zombies, because I think somebody besides Joss Whedon needs to do that. Because fuck Joss Whedon.
Actually, I'd rather not.
No, thank you. Thank you. I'd rather not. Oh, wait,
yeah, disgusting. Disgusting, horrible man. Anyway. Anyway, to clean that horrible taste from our mouths. That was phenomenal. I had a really good time talking to you both and listening to some cool writing. I hope everyone else did too. We'll be back on, I believe, Tuesday. I could be getting this wrong because my social media, everything is all over the place and I'm really bad at it. But I think our next event like this, our next live event, will be with Moss Angel. I'm not sure if it's just Moss Angel or if it will be somebody else, but it will be on Tuesday. Not sure about the time. Again, I don't have my shit together. So thanks again for everyone being a part of this. And if either of you want to sign out with anything, I'll let you do that.
Well, I say enjoy the rest of your Sundays. And if you're interested in queer and sensitivity editing, I'm pasting my link as a, it should show up on your video feed. And I work with anything from short stories to full novel length.
My only thing is I encourage people to write trans femme fan fiction. Because I want it there. I really, really want more out there. I will, if I find it, I will come and review your fan fiction and likely squee very enthusiastically all over it.
Yay. Hell yeah.
So yeah.
Yay. Awesome. I think so.
Guess this is the end.
Thanks everyone. And come check in with us again on Tuesday. Donate to the Kickstarter if you haven't already. Have a really lovely rest of your day, whatever time it is for you, wherever you are. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.